Hello there, this is Brennan Marr, host of Page Turners They Were Not, a Star Wars podcast. And I'm here to tell you about Anchor. Anchor is the best way to make a podcast. Why is that? Well, first off, it's free. Yes, you heard me right. Anchor is free. Anchor has all the tools you need to make a podcast from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you on various platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can make money from your podcast. And get this, with no minimum listenership. That means you can make money even if no one listens to your podcast. That, of course, is not ideal, as Anchor will allow you to spread your podcast, bring in more viewers, and you can make more money because of it. Everything you need to make a podcast is in one place on Anchor. If you're interested, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you, and may the Force be with you. Hello, everyone. My name is Brennan Marr. That noise you're hearing is my ventilator. And thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. Today I'd like to talk about voice acting in Star Wars, particularly in the animated series, and how it relates to live action. Today's Tuesday, when I'm recording this at least, and on Tuesdays I like to talk about hot or controversial topics. Voice acting and voice actors are a hot topic right now because of the casting announcement of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano on Star Wars The Clone Wars, and apparently it has been officially confirmed. Now, let me just preface this by saying I was under the impression they had already finished filming season 2. So, this may be in pickup photography. Now, I do not believe that they would hire someone of Rosario Dawson's level of fame only to have it be a cameo as Ahsoka. I don't find that highly likely. So it is my theory that either there will be one episode focused on her, or she will appear at the end of season 2 as a lead-in to season 3. So that's just a theory. Okay, so getting that out of the way. The reason why voice acting became a hot topic because of this is Ahsoka Tano, for the last 12 years, has been voiced by Ashley Eckstein. And the question was brought up, why didn't they just cast her in the live-action version? It's a legitimate question, but it's one that is complicated. First off, there is no precedence with taking an animated character's voice actor and bringing them into live action, at least in Star Wars. It's a fairly rare occurrence in other franchises as well. In fact, the only time that I can think of was well, two times that come to mind. One was when Maurice LaMarche appeared live action as Inspector Gadget in an episode of the Super Mario Brothers show during the live action segments. If I'm not mistaken, at that point in history, Maurice LaMarche had already taken over the role of Inspector Gadget from the original Don Adams. That's one, and the other one is when just recently with Kevin Conroy, the voice actor who's been voicing Batman for many years, finally appeared as Bruce Wayne on screen in the recent Crisis crossover episode. Okay, those are the only two times. Now, so it's unprecedented in Star Wars to have the voice actor appear. Now, in the case of someone like Mark Hamill, that doesn't count because he originated the character in live action and has voiced the character in at least one animated program. So, as far as bringing the voice actor to screen, it's never happened. Now, Ashley Eckstein has appeared in live action before. Not as Ahsoka, but prior to becoming a voice actress. I think that it really comes down to what is required of the character. If it's a very physical role, Ashley Eckstein might not be up to it. Rosario Dawson would be up to it, as we've seen her do that before. Now, I do not believe personally that they should bring the voice actors into live action. At least it should be fairly uncommon. Now, I really don't have any real rationale, just other than what is required for voice acting is very different than what is required for live acting. It's very different. Now, Ashley could play Ahsoka in live action, but maybe it's just me, but visually I don't see it. But, yet again, this is a complicated subject. I think I like the casting of Rosario Dawson for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think visually she fits more the look of the character than Ashley. Number two, Rosario Dawson is a more well-known name. And number three, I just don't think that voice actors should, by default, become the actor on screen. So let me just discuss these real quick. So number one, the visual element. You know what? I've completely gone blank on what I just listed out. So let me just go through this. Now, it's not a question of what race should the actor be. Because Ahsoka is not human. And therefore, obviously, there are no humans with orange skin, like Ahsoka has. So that's not an issue. Now, I think that as far as diversity is concerned, we do know that Lucasfilm wants to make a concerted effort to be diverse in their casting. But I don't think it's really a question of race in the case of Rosario Dawson. It's just Rosario's been lobbying to play this role. There are a lot of fans who like this idea. And in terms of the physicality, I think she's got the right physicality. Now, Rosario Dawson is a bigger name than Ashley Eckstein. Now, this may sound terribly unfair, but unfortunately, Lucasfilm is a business. And that's not necessarily unfortunate. It's a business. Rosario Dawson is a known name. Ashley Eckstein is a known name to Star Wars fans. But this has to reach beyond that. In fact, we know that The Mandalorian has reached beyond and has really even reached out to the casual Star Wars fan, or even people who don't even call themselves Star Wars fans. Rosario Dawson would be more familiar to them. Now, that may not be fair, but business isn't about being fair. So this may be a business decision. As well as, I just don't think that voice actors should become the live character. Especially in Ashley's case, her live acting experience is limited. Now, I would be willing to make an exception for one person, at least off the top of my head, and that's Freddie Prinze Jr. Freddie Prinze Jr. is the voice of Kanan Jarrus in Star Wars Rebels. If ever there was a character more modeled after their actor, it's him. Because, you throw the goatee and the ponytail on Freddie Prinze, and you've got Kanan Jarrus. But the reason that I would be okay with that is because Freddie Prinze Jr. has acted in a lot of things. He is an actor. He is always working. Now, Ashley has appeared in live action, but limited. So I'd be willing to accept Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan Jarrus. A, because he's got the right look, and B, because he's an actor who's acting all the time. Now, so that's kind of my thoughts on Ashley Eckstein and Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka. Now, unlike a lot of folks, I don't think it's an insult to Ashley that they didn't hire her. In fact, for all we know, Ashley might have been okay with it. That's one possibility. So, I think in general, voice actors should not play the character. Let me also discuss Sabine Wren. Sabine Wren is another character from the Star Wars Rebels. Now, she's human. The character is human. Looking at the character, she has almond-shaped eyes, and she's got, pardon the phrase, yellow skin. Clearly, I think she should be played by an actress who is Asian. Or of Asian descent of some sort. Perhaps a Latina, but I think probably an Asian. Now that one's different because the character is human. So I remember when there were those rumors floating, you might remember this, that Felicity Jones was playing Sabine in Rogue One. I do not believe that would have been appropriate if that had been true. Because Felicity Jones is white and Sabine is clearly not. At least in my mind. You know, maybe you could make an argument to look past that. But when it comes to Ahsoka being an alien, race is not an issue. But I think I would rather see Rosario Dawson play Ahsoka than Ashley Eckstein. So let me just conclude by celebrating some of the great voice actors who worked in Star Wars, who maybe don't get a lot of the praise that they deserve. Now, I mentioned before that I did not like the Clone Wars film. When I came out of the Clone Wars movie, there were two good things I could say about it. One, I really liked the voice actor who played Anakin, and two, I really liked the voice actor who played Padme. And that's Matt Lanter and Kat Tabor, respectively. In fact, I'm going to be controversial, because it's Tuesday, it's a day for that, and say that I much preferred their acting to Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman's acting. And in fact, when I read a book, and those characters are in it, I hear the voice of Matt Lanter, and I hear the voice of Kat Tabor. So kudos to them for their work. James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan is pretty good. He's a little bit more sarcastic than I thought Obi-Wan should be. But that, of course, is not James Arnold Taylor's fault. And in fact, often when I read, I will hear his voice. Sometimes it'll switch between his voice and Ewan McGregor's voice. But regardless, James Arnold Taylor is excellent as Obi-Wan. Special praise needs to be given to D. Bradley Baker as the voice of every clone, as well as many other characters on the Clone Wars and on Rebels. Another person that I really think deserves a lot of credit is Ian Abercrombie, who played Chancellor Palpatine. Mr. Abercrombie actually passed away, I think, during the 5th season of Clone Wars. At least of recording it. He was replaced by the excellent Tim Curry. Of course, we all know Tim Curry. But Ian Abercrombie really brought a lot to the Chancellor. And yet again, sometimes I hear his voice in my head when I read, and not Ian McDermott's voice. So these are some of the voice actors who really brought the Clone Wars and Rebels to life. And I really gotta praise them. In fact, the cast of Rebels, particularly, is one of the reasons I got into it. I was a little skeptical at first with Star Wars Rebels. But then I saw that David Oyelowo was voicing Agent Kallus. David Oyelowo, of course, the great British stage actor, who has played Martin Luther King Jr. in Selma, and many other wonderful roles. And so when I saw that, I went, okay, that's interesting. I'm intrigued. And then what sold me on the show, the thing that made me go, okay, they've hooked me in. The great Jason Isaacs as the Grand Inquisitor. Jason Isaacs, you may recall, as Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter films, as Captain Hook in the British version of Peter Pan, and the list just goes on. So, now those, of course, are actors who are well known for their film and stage acting being brought in, but those voice actors who have never appeared in live action really deserve a lot of praise for what they brought to Star Wars, and Ashley Eckstein is one of them. Ashley, you are amazing. Your work as Ahsoka has helped elevate the character. Now, the character evolved, as you recall, from a character who fans absolutely detested, at least the loudest fans, I should say, to a character that many of the loudest fans love now. And Ashley is part of that reason. Of course, the writing improved, the directing improved, the use of the character improved, and the storylines improved. But Ashley deserves a lot of praise for that. So, I do not want to see, or let me rephrase that. Even though I would rather see Rosario Dawson than Ashley Eckstein play Ahsoka, that in no way is an insult to Ashley's talents. Ashley is great, and to me that'll always be the voice I hear. But I'm fine with allowing someone else to come in. And I don't think that in any way is an insult to Ashley Eckstein. So those are my thoughts on the voice acting in Star Wars and the bringing of Ahsoka to live action. It's going to be very interesting to see visually what she looks like as a live action creation. But I trust the folks at Lucasfilm, especially the folks with The Mandalorian. And I think that it will be pretty neat. So, it does, of course, raise the question that if you watch Star Wars Rebels, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, and you know what occurs at the end of the series, it will be very interesting to see how that fits with the story of The Mandalorian. And maybe someday even other animated characters will make it into live action. Whoever they get to play them, I think it depends on what is called for. But I have faith that it will go well. So those are my thoughts on this situation. My name is Brendan Marr, that noise you hear is my ventilator. And thank you for tuning in to Page Turners They Were Not, my Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.